Parents, guardians, students, to the Chapel Hill-Chauncy Hall School commencement of the class of 2014. Thank you for joining us on this absolutely glorious, glorious day. I'd like to introduce some special guests that are with us today. Commencement speaker, Dr. Siri Akal Khalsa, President of CHCH. Board Chair, Ms. Anna Colton. And a very large number of trustees, Dr. Ing Becker, Mr. Chuck Black, Ms. Sarah Forster, Mr. Alden Harrington, Ms. Eileen Larkins, Mr. Todd Lemke, Mr. James Lipcon, class of 1997, Ms. Charlotte Merrill, Mr. Tom Mulvihill, Ms. Pat Nwobodo, Mr. B.J. Rudman, Ms. Barbara Sinisgali, Dr. Ingrid Tucker, Ms. Michelle Wang, and Ms. Ann Whitaker. I'd also like to recognize a couple of special guests that are with us today. Dr. Margaret Allen and her husband David, and Mr. Don Grace, former head of CHCH, and his wife Catherine. Finally, I'd like to thank members of the junior class for their assistance at this morning's ceremony. Our two class marshals, Marie Pak and Ryan Pensaval. And our ushers, Martha Bedell, Jesse Dinklage, Max Lemke, and Sky Strawbridge. Thank you. Last year, one particular member of the class of 2014 made me promise to give one final Jake story when she graduated. Jake, by the way, for those that don't know, is my 8-year-old son. Well, that day is today. And what better time to deliver on that promise than right now in my introduction of today's commencement speaker. And what better Jake story to deliver than one from his first hours of life back in the spring of 2006. When most of today's graduates were a mere 9 or 10 years old. The day was March 10th, 2006. The day after my son Jake was born, Dr. Siri Akal Khalsa, head of Chapel Hill-Chauncy Hall School, phoned me while I was visiting my wife and newborn child at Emerson Hospital in Concord. He called to offer me congratulations on the birth of my son and the position of assistant head of school of CHCH. The stars were seemingly aligned that week as the job offer arrived during one of those proverbial crossroads in my life. Dr. Khalsa said during that conversation, and has repeated to me dozens upon dozens of times since, "Lance, a way will open." His timing, compassion, and yes, charm were enough to do the trick, along with a gorgeous bouquet of flowers waiting for me when I arrived home that evening. Obviously, I took the job. In that conversation, my acceptance of his offer began a beautiful friendship and partnership. As I reflect upon it now, I realize that as I became a father for the first time that week, certainly an awesome responsibility, I also gained a fourth father in many ways. It's a long story why I have 4 fathers, but Dr. K is my fourth and final father. Back to my introduction of today's commencement speaker. Dr. Siri Akal Khalsa and I have certainly been an odd couple in many ways over the past 8 years. Just look at the two of us together. However, as I appreciate explaining to folks, our school leadership, collaboration, and partnership has been nothing short of extraordinary as we complement each other's strengths and yes, protect each other's blind sides when leading a simpatico educational philosophy and vision for CHCH. It has been a true honor working with and learning from Dr. Khalsa over the years. Before arriving in Waltham, Dr. Khalsa spent time working in and leading a wide variety of schools, from public to independent to even Quaker independent to even international schools. Dr. Khalsa has dedicated nearly a half a century of his professional life to global school leadership as both a student and a practitioner. In recent years, he served on the Board of Trustees for the Association of Independent Schools of New England, and today he serves as a trustee for the National Association of Independent Schools in Washington, D.C. As of July 1st, Dr. Khalsa will begin his work as the Executive Director of the Northwest Association of Independent Schools, leading 110 schools and their school heads and more than 24,000 students in the Pacific Northwest, Alaska, and British Columbia. Please join me in welcoming this year's commencement speaker and forever a dearest friend of the school, Dr. Siri Akal Khalsa.
Thank you, Lance. If I had known that you looked at me as a father figure, our relationship would have been different.
That's why I never told you.
We'll talk later. Ms. Colton, Mr. Conrad, trustees, honored guests, faculty and staff, friends and families, and most of all, students. I should say graduates. I'm honored to be here today as your commencement speaker. Commencement speakers, as you know, are traditionally called upon to share their insights and advice in a concise speech. A colleague of mine, a head of school in Nevada, recently bragged to me about sharing his wisdom in his commencement speech in 90 seconds. Don't get your hopes up. Graduation deserves more than 90 seconds of our time. Today, graduates, in subtle and significant ways, you step out of childhood into young adulthood with all its rights, privileges, responsibilities, and yes, opportunities. This is a time of joy, relief, anticipation, excitement, and life transitions such as this call for some moments of reflection. So as you sit here, graduates, handsome and beautiful, positively radiant, take a deep breath, sit back for a few minutes, relax, and take this short walk with me. Think about your friends that you've made here, many of whom will truly be your BFFs. Think of your family, whose love for you at this moment is filling this tent almost to bursting. Think of your teachers, who are more proud of you than they can say, and being teachers will say. Or if you're like me at my high school graduation, you can sit there and think about what's for lunch and how long is this guy going to speak. It's okay. We embrace success from any direction. And don't worry, though, about the emotions that may well up, because there's only one person here on stage who has a license to cry. My thoughts today, on the other hand, well, what I have running through my mind right now, 4-letter words. I've got 4-letter words running through my mind. All right, they've got to come out. I'm sorry. Lance, Anna, trustees, here goes. The first one is work. W-O-R-K, just so there's no misunderstanding. When I graduated high school, I thought I knew what work was. Then I went to college. Boy, was I in for a rude awakening. In high school, I was an A student. Hey, I was the editor-in-chief of the school literary magazine. I was Mr. English student. 3 months later, I was getting C's in freshman English, and I was grateful to get them. I was working hard, but I just wasn't getting the results. My high school experience hadn't really made me college ready. I knew a lot about a lot, but I didn't know how to handle college work. And it wasn't until I started to apply what I had learned in jobs outside of school that I figured out how to succeed in college. Now, just some background. My work outside of school at that time included camp counselor, clam digger, lawnmower, snow shoveler, oyster shucker, picture framer, UPS loader. I quit after 3 nights. House painter, tree surgeon's assistant, drywall installer, one of the 2 jobs I got fired from. English tutor, dog show ticket taker, farmhand, and most memorably, checkout at a 24-hour store that got held up regularly. Each of those jobs taught me something about being successful, to not give up in the face of difficult projects and people, to pick myself up when I got knocked down, to be patient with mistakes, most importantly, my own, to be respectful of others, especially in times of conflict, to understand when I needed help and not be afraid to ask for it, to work as a part of the team, to look for new solutions to nagging problems, and to have a sense of humor, most importantly, about myself. Now, as you, graduates, are about to move on to college, university, or in Brendan's case, an exciting internship, wherever you're headed, this audience is easy, Brendan. Wherever you're headed, I can guarantee that you're going to be confronted by new and more difficult work. It's just how it's going to be. Be a little nervous because that'll keep you sharp, but don't be afraid. Unlike my very traditional high school education, your work here at CHCH has prepared you for the challenges to come. You have found out the many different ways that you're smart. You've learned how to draw upon your multiple talents, and when needed, the strengths of others. You look doubtful. Gordon, you look sleepy. Doubtful. Okay. All right. A couple of quick examples. In learning a new language, Vicky and Anna, you learned how to be persistent and diligent. In struggling through some tough seasons in athletics, Drew, Gordon, Pat, you learned how to play as a team and be positive in the face of adversity. In helping to create wonderful shows, Em, Chloe, you learned how to be creative and patient. In learning how to listen gracefully to the other person's view, especially when you disagreed with it, Tyler, Lexi, you learned respect. And in learning how to hit a curveball when life threw one at you, you learned how to be resilient, Signa and Eric. Persistence, resilience, patience, respect, teamwork, ingenuity, these are the qualities that will help you be successful in college and in life. In the years ahead, you will have many successes, but many failures as well. Good. As Henry Ford pointed out, failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. And you are really intelligent. Multiply intelligent. Ah, come on. A little love. Come on. This brings me to my second 4-letter word. Risk. R-I-S-K. When I graduated from college now, like many of my classmates, I was well educated, but actually I really didn't know anything. Least of all, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I knew I liked working with young people, so I decided to teach. And after a couple of years of teaching, I felt like I needed to spread my wings a little bit. So I trained as a playwright and went to work for CBS TV as a writer. A couple years there, I realized, I hate this business. So I quit and went back to teaching. 6 years of teaching, I got the opportunity to go to India to be vice principal of school there with my wife, and we went for 5 years. And back to the States, I stopped working entirely because I knew I needed to get a doctorate to do what I wanted to do in my life. That was a big hit, not working for 3 or 4 years at all. Popular choice. But those decisions, as strange as they may seem, led ultimately to my becoming head of school and president of CHCH, and as you know, in a couple days, executive director for the Northwest Association of Independent Schools. So when I look back, I ask myself, how did a nerdy nobody from Brooklyn get from there to here to there? I only have 2 explanations. First one is, God loves children and fools, and I'm not a child. Remember, success for any direction. The second is I took risks. When something wasn't working, I changed direction. When I felt stuck, I pried myself free. When I hit a dead end, I changed course. When my track put me at odds with my family, as my decision to move to India did, I stuck to my course because I knew in my heart it was the right thing for me to do. You're going to be faced with decisions like mine. Buckle in. There's going to be surprises and there will be pushback. At one Thanksgiving dinner, and you know how wonderful Thanksgiving dinners can be sometimes and how wrong they can go sometimes. I'll let you be the judge as to which one this was. At one Thanksgiving dinner, clearly frustrated by what he perceived as my total lack of purpose and direction in life, my father sat back and asked me what in God's name I was doing with my life. It's a good question. I told him, Dad, relax. I've done a study. I've looked at how people work. I've seen, the results. People work their whole lives in a job, then they retire, and then 6 months later they drop dead. I didn't think that was for me, so I've decided to take my retirement first. It bought me a little time, but he wasn't amused. At the same time, I drew courage from my teacher, Yogi Bhajan, who told me great love and great achievements involve great risk. So here's my question for you, graduates. Are you risk takers for your life? I think you are. Here's why. Just 3 easy ones. You took a risk, first of all, coming here to a new school, leaving a lot of friends behind to come here, and a school that, maybe some of you haven't even heard of. That was a risk. Some of you took a risk traveling thousands of miles from home, leaving friends, family, and everything that was familiar behind, coming to a country with strange foods, strange customs, strange people. That was a risk. Here you've all taken risks signing up for new courses, things you've never heard of, getting involved in activities you never thought you'd be doing, trying new things, stretching yourself, getting outside your comfort zones. Those are risks. In what follows, in your college years and beyond that, graduates, I want you, Chloe, to continue to take risks. Stretch yourself. Nothing crazy now, right? Relax, parents. No crazy risks. Warren Buffett warned us, it takes 20 years to build up a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, he said, you'll do things differently. Well, I want you to do things differently, not just to avoid making bad decisions, but because as your future unfolds, you're going to have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That makes sense? You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Why? Well, a couple of statistics. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, you, in your lifetime, are going to have between 7 and 11 jobs and 6 to 7 career changes. It's kind of mind-boggling at this point, right? You don't even know what your careers are going to be. More than one. The future you're entering is going to have jobs that have not yet been created, technologies that haven't been invented, careers that don't yet exist, and opportunities and problems that we can't even imagine. So to be successful in your future, you're going to have to be flexible, you're going to have to be nimble, and you're going to have to be a creator and an innovator. Qualities I think you've also picked up here. My mantra at your age was keep up and you'll be kept up. Your mantra is going to have to be something like dare mighty things. Right, Tyler? Okay. Now we regard innovators as people who think outside the box. Ms. Ludlam, is that correct? No, it's not. I'm glad you agree with me. Because as I just asked Ms. Ludlam, she will tell you, innovators don't think outside the box, they have gotten rid of the box entirely. Steve Jobs put it another way. He said, why join the Navy if you can be a pirate? And who doesn't want to be a pirate? I mean, really, come on. Arrgh. Certainly there are possibilities between joining the Navy and becoming a pirate, but Jobs' comment leads us to the last four-letter word I have in my mind today, path. P-A-T-H. Okay, we've been fooling around here. Let's get serious, graduates. Now that you're about to go to college, why are you here? Great. All right, I'll make it easy. I don't mean why are you here today at graduation. I don't mean why are you here in Waltham. More basic question. Why are you on this planet? Everybody's looking down at the program. Well, that's a big question, and it's a tough question. And many of us here today are still answering that question, as we should be. So the best answer right now is not I don't know. You're almost right. The best answer is I don't know yet. And what a difference that yet makes. My teacher gave me this advice. If you can't figure out your path, figure out your passion. For your passion will lead you right into your purpose. So one of your most important pieces of work over the coming years, graduates, will be first to figure out your passion so you can discover your path. And if your path is the right one, you're going to know it. You wake up in the morning feeling great, energized. You can't wait to get to work. Work won't seem like work. It will seem like just what you have to do. You'll know it. But I need to give you some advice about that path, and it's not which path to choose, because that will be in your hands. But the advice I have to give for you about that path is follow the path with heart. Follow path with heart. Now, if you follow a path with heart, be prepared. It can take you to unexpected places. The path that had heart for me led to my becoming a Sikh. So a little background. All these years you've been polite enough to not ask any of these questions, so I'm going to tell you. Okay. I was born in Brooklyn after World War II into a Russian-American family and raised in the Russian Orthodox faith. Okay, Brooklyn, World War II, Russian-American. Starting to get the picture? Okay. So my becoming a Sikh astounded my friends, disturbed my mother, and shall we say, stunned my father. Now, do you think as a kid growing up in the 50s, I was running around the house tugging on my mother's apron saying, "Mommy, Mommy, when I grow up, I want to wear a turban and have a long beard and get up before dawn each day to meditate and pray and then get pulled out of security lines at the airport for special churches." As we say in Russian, "не точно," not exactly. And yet, when the Sikh path opened its heart to me, I jumped on it without a second thought. It was that clear to me that that path was me. Now, people ask me who I was before I became a Sikh, and I tell them quite honestly, I always was a Sikh. I just didn't always know that I was a Sikh. So my question for you guys, in later years, who are you going to be that you can't even imagine yet? Today's graduation gives you, maybe not the license, but it gives you the learner's permit to go forth following that question with confidence to discover the incredible person who is waiting for you to be discovered. You will amaze yourself, astonish your friends, and if you're like me, confound your family. Anybody gives you any guff, you can call me. Remember, I'm a Sikh from Brooklyn, right? Your life, graduates, is very much in your hands. And for all the wisdom and experience gathered here today, no one can say what you should be doing, much less what you will be doing in 5 years, except you. And you don't know yet. And that's part of the wonder of it all.